So what we did last class with Lama John is he put it to a song, the second verse, and I don't play guitar. I don't have a good singing voice, but I do have the recording. So I thought I'd just put the recording on, and then we can sing along with that. Because it's so nice. Yeah. I loved it. Oh, we need to do that. No, it's Sangay.
Sangay. No, Gawadi's at the end, isn't it? Sorry.
No. It's the same one. Or no, Sangay Chulang Soki Chona Chẳng chư ba dư đa ni khyao sư chi đa ki chân en ki phê su nam ki rô la phen chia sang e ku pa shu Sangye chulang so ki chok nam Chẳng chư ba du ta ni kyab su chi Da ki jen yen ki pre su nam ki Đô la bên chư sang e tu pa sho sang e chư lang so ki cho na Chẳng chư ba du da ni kya su chi Da ki jen yen ki pe su nam ki Rô la pen chia sang e tu pa shu Sang e chu lang so ki cho ma Trong chư ba du ta ni kyab su chi Thanh ni jin en ki pe su nam ki Đô la phen chia sang e tu pa shu Sang e chư lang so ki cho nam Chẳng chư ba du da ni kya su chi Da ki jen en ki pe su nam ki Đô la pen chia sang e tu pa sho Sang e chư lang so ki cho nam Chư ba du da ni kyab su chi Da ki jen en ki pe su nam ki Đô la pen chia sang e tu pa shu
So just sit for a moment. Just feel. If you enjoyed that, if it was blissful to you, then a good thing to do is just send it out. Send that bliss out to all beings. May they all feel that. And then you can open your eyes. Hi, Nina.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so nice. Huh? Do you want to make sure this thing is running?
It's just put start and it says live. Yeah, looks like it's running.
That's great.
Usually you have it, and we don't have any viewers yet. Yeah, it's on 9 minutes and 7 seconds. So I could do that in a way so my face doesn't go.
All right, yet another crazy class coming your way. Today we're looking at where mind comes from. And we spoke about this before. I think it was Carol who had to work unfortunately today, but that in the Tibetans like to prove things by eliminating all the things that it's not, and then you're just left with something. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to eliminate it. Eliminate what could not have caused the mind to come to the conclusion where mind does come from. And reading that this class is based on is its commentary by J. And he, as you might know, is one of the two spiritual sons of Jason Kappa. And generally, it's Gyaltsab J and J. And generally, Gyaltsab J is known for logic, commentaries, and Kejubje is more specialized in the tantric commentaries. But they do both. So in this case, Kejubje, who normally does the tantric commentary, does the logic commentary on what we'll be looking at today. So, say Nyerlen Gi Gu. Start again. Nyerlen Gi Gu. And Kien. So Gi Gu is cause, and Nyerlan is material cause. And Kien would be secondary factors, supporting factors, conditions. So Nyerlan Gi would be like the thing that flops over into something else, like an acorn turns into an oak tree, right? A lemon seed turns into a lemon tree. It's the stuff that turns into, right? And then by turning, say, an acorn turns into an oak tree, and then the acorn disappears, right? So there's always a similarity between the material cause and the result. And the secondary factors would be, so they're not the main thing, but they're contributing, right, to, say, the acorn and the oak tree. What would be a secondary factor? Yeah, definitely. Like sun, water, fertilizer, causes to producing it. But it couldn't do it without the material cause. It could not do it without the acorn. You know, you can have lots of sun and rain and whatever you need, but if you don't have that seed, then you can wait for a long time, right? It will not happen. And we know that the cause is similar to the result. When we put tomato seeds into the earth, we are not going to sit there and wait for lemons to grow, right? So there is a similarity, and we accept that, right? When we grow things, that's what we do. So the secondary factors, I think I told this story before, but just because I think it's really funny. When I was cleaning my bathtub one day with a lemon, because I heard that's a good thing to clean with. So I did. I cleaned my tub, scrubbing it. And then, a few weeks later, I'm having a shower and I'm looking down. And I'm like, what the heck? Out of my drain is a sprout. It's growing. It's growing a lemon tree in my bathtub. Because the conditions were right? The seed loved to be planted in the hairs, I can imagine, it's stuck in the drain or whatever it grows and sits in there. And then the humidity of the bathroom, the water, it was perfect. So, Now, can something grow without the secondary factors? It possibly could. Sometimes things grow without rain. It might be like kind of little flimsy little thing what comes up compared to if it would have rain and sun and all the things. It might grow into a huge, beautiful tree, and if it doesn't have it, it might grow in something not so impressive looking, but it still could grow. But without the seed, No way. Okay? So today we're not interested in Kien, we are interested in Nierlangiku. So, what is the material cause of the mind? That's what we're trying to figure out today. Where is the first moment of mind? Where does it occur? So, according to Buddhism, in this life, the first moment of your mind starts at the moment of conception, when the egg and sperm meet. So, we have to agree that there was a first moment of our mind, a first moment of consciousness in this life. And I can imagine that the first moment of awareness in this life may have been tactile, right? Probably not, like, you probably didn't hear things, or, it probably was a feeling of wetness or something. I don't know. Very primitive. Maybe a sensation or a smell. Um, do the Western people accept the idea of a mind stream, a stream of consciousness? I'd say we do. Because if we wouldn't send our kids to school, right? When we put our kids to school, first grade, we expect that by, the seventh grade, that they would have learned something. Let's look at the proof of elimination. So KJ, he's looking at all the possible things where that first moment of consciousness came from. And we're going to eliminate them one by one. So we need to have this big outline of all things that exist, which in this text it says it's Sheja. Is it Sheja?
Sheja.
Sheja means all knowable things. She is to know, knowable objects. Right? It's a synonym for all existing things. So anything that can be known. So that covers everything, right? So of everything, we can divide it in two things, and we've spoken about this before in these classes. What two things are there?
Changing and unchanging.
Yes, wood. Which, remember what mitakpa was? Changing or unchanging? Which one? Changing, yeah. Changing is mitakpa, and takpa is unchanging. So of all things in the universe, we can divide those into changing, unchanging. Mitakpa and takpa. So tell me, what are changing and what are unchanging things, man? Give me some examples. It's okay. What's a changing thing?
Emptiness is changing. I thought a couple of weeks ago we talked about how it could be changing, like in direction.
Mm.
Impermanent, but it's not changing.
So what's changing? Tell me something that's changing.
Our bodies.
Sure. Bodies are changing. What else?
Humans, we change.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And not just humans, not just bodies, everything. Like this cup changes every instance, even though we can't see it, but I can prove to you if I leave this cup here and I come back in 100 years, the cup will not look the same. So everything is changing instant to instant. The table, yoga mat, everything is kind of falling apart, right? Slowly.
Changing would be conscious. Unconscious.
Conscious?
Well, yeah. Or
Would
but
you-
I see it same as air. The air we breathe doesn't change. We're born lifetimes over again, but we still need to breathe.
The fact that we need to breathe is an unchanging thing. But air itself or breathing is changing.
Yeah, I mean the fact that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we need air and food and sunlight
Mm-hmm.
and nature.
The most famous examples given for unchanging objects, I want to forget about the fact example right now because it gets too confusing. We addressed in a later class. The main examples given, because there's not a whole lot of unchanging things out there. There's not. So the main ones that are given as an example is emptiness. And the reason for that is because it's a lack, right? It's the something that's not there. So it can't be changing if it's not there. How can it change? Right? It can't. So the emptiness of any object is unchanging. And then the other example that they give is empty space. And empty space, not as in the space between me and Taranjeet, but the space that an object occupies. So it's better to use the word place instead of space. So those are the two things that are often said as examples. So, okay. So is a mind changing or unchanging? Changing, instant to instant, right? If our mind wasn't changing, then nothing could really happen, right? We could never reach Buddhahood because we couldn't get rid of our bad thoughts. We would basically be stuck. If your mind is unchanging, you would do the same thing non-stop until forever, I guess. No, I couldn't even do something because that would be changing.
Frozen.
You'd be frozen. Yeah. So the mind has to be changing. And that's easy enough for us to prove to ourselves, right? Because, I mean, take a moment, take a look in my mind for, a couple seconds and you'll see, lots of craziness happening, right? So, yes, it's changing. Mind is changing. So that's good. That's a good thing because then that means we can reach Buddhahood because it's changing. Because if it was unchanging, we couldn't. about the cause? Can a cause be unchanging? Like, say the acorn for the oak tree. Can the cause be unchanging? No. If you're the cause, then that's going to flop over into something. So it has to be always changing, right? And when you try to find, this is not this class, but the moment where the acorn flopped into the sprout to become an oak tree, try to find that moment. Actually, can't find it. You cannot find it. You cannot find a moment that a cause flopped into a result, which is pretty crazy. Actually, that is a method into reaching emptiness directly, by meditating on that, trying to figure that one out. That's tricky though. There'll be other classes on that. So when we go back to our changing things, basically what we've now proven is that a mind, we've eliminated takpa, right? Because the mind is changing. So it could not be caused by something unchanging. Okay, do we agree on that? The mind is changing all the time. And whatever the cause is for a result must be changing too. So that's why we eliminate takpa. That's our first elimination. Does it make sense? Make sense, Nina?
Mind is always changing.
Yeah.
So we're always changing, and we that's takpa.
Takpa is for unchanging.
Or
Mi takpa.
vitakpa, which means forever changing.
Yeah.
And I do see where the two, it's hard to see where the two kind of, how do you know if the two, when the two connect together? It's impossible to see that.
So what we're looking for today
Why is that?
is what is the cause of our mind, right? What caused our mind? So right now we're saying our mind has to be caused by something changing. It cannot be caused by something unchanging. It has to be caused by something changing.
Because the mind is always changing.
Because the mind is always changing. So the cause must be changing. Okay? So that's how we eliminate our first thing. So then we're going to look at what kind of changing things are there that could possibly be the cause of our mind. So there's Bempo, say Bempo, and Rikpa. So Bempo is physical matter, and Rikpa is mind. So those are the two changing things there are. Okay, it's either physical matter or it's mind. There's one exception to when I say there's two kinds of changing things, because there's one other thing which is an exception that we did discuss, and that is Taranjit. Taranjit is neither mind nor matter. She's a concept. Okay? So then you don't fit into either of these categories. But that's also not tonight's class. So
Sorry, the two physical matters of changing mind are yin devadi.
sorry?
The two physical matters of changing mind were
I think it was just a physical.
There's physical matter,
Matter.
and there's mind.
Physical
Mind
matter
is
and mind. Thank
Bento
you.
and
Yeah, those are the two things that come under changing things, right? Physical matter and mind. So our mind must be caused either by physical matter or be caused by mind. Those are our options. There's no other option. So we're going to look at physical matter first. Now we can divide physical matter. We can divide physical matter, Benpo, into Wangpo, say Wangpo, and Chisuk. So Wangpo is the 5 sense powers, living matter. Chisuk is the outside matter.
Did you say living matter for Wangpo?
So what are the 5 sense powers? What are Wangpo? We're discussing Wangpo right now. We're seeing if these 5 sense powers can be the cause of our mind, okay? Because that's what we're trying to do. Trying to find the cause of our mind. Okay, can our 5 sense powers, what are our 5 sense powers?
Seeing, feeling,
Yeah.
Smelling, hearing, and
Touching.
touching.
Good. Stated in the Heart Sutra. Yes. So in Buddhism, it is believed that a small area in the back of your eyeball can sense the objects outside, right? And it transmits that data to the consciousness of your eye. So when you see, your eye is not thinking, oh look, I'm looking at the computer, I'm looking at the table, I'm looking at Hogan. No, the eye just sees shapes and colors and movement, right? And that is being transmitted to the consciousness, which says, oh, okay, look, I see a computer, table, and Hogan. Okay. And I think we call that the optic nerve, right? So it transmits the data. So Wangpo refers to physical stuff, but not the mind. It's sensitive, it senses things, but it's not knowing. And they say the mind is always a moment behind, because you first sense it, and then it's being transmitted, and then I realize, okay, I'm looking at Hogan, right? So we're always a moment behind. So why aren't the sense powers the mind itself? The reason given is because there's no awareness. It just senses, but it doesn't know, right? So let's see here.
So you're saying it can't be mind because it doesn't know. It's just
Because it doesn't
literally
know.
senses going into being fed into the mind stream, but it's not into the consciousness. But
Yeah.
it's not actually
But it's not mind.
interpreting,
Yeah.
able to interpret thoughts and project thoughts onto that.
And what would happen if you lost your eye? If you go blind, you don't have that sense power, right?
Just the one sense power though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
say if you lose one of them, does that mean then you don't have mind? Like,
No, I knew someone who lost their sense of smell, but they still have a mind.
you still have mind. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense, the argument, right? So we're just trying to eliminate the possibilities that one could bring up. One could say mind comes from these five sense powers, right? And we're trying to see that it's not. And, you know, if the optic nerve were the cause of your mind, then the mind would have the same vividness in seeing something. Like if I think right now of my refrigerator at home, I can picture it. I can picture it perfectly, what's in it, and yeah. But it's not as clear as a picture as if I'm standing in front of it and actually seeing it, right? So the optic nerve cannot be the mind, because if it was, then I could think of my refrigerator just as clearly as if I would see it. Does that make sense?
I have an argument to that. There are people who can have photogenic memories where they can look at something and then they can remember
Yeah, but
information.
same thing. I can remember perfectly what's in my fridge, but is my picture as perfectly clear as if I would see it? It's not. I can tell you lots of things from my memory, and I can probably tell it pretty accurately, but it's not the same as when I actually see it in, clear. It's more vivid. The colors are more sharp, right? Versus not seeing it directly.
I don't want to, take it off tangent, but then is emptiness saying that what we see and what we touch, isn't it really not there? That we are actually projecting?
It's not. See, there's different schools of thought on that. It's good enough to say that something's actually there. Some raw data is out there that you perceive because of your karma. You're forced to see it as a table. You can say that. You can say there is, shapes and colors out there. But yeah, if you go to higher schools, then they would say it's all, even the shapes and colors are your projection, are not
that's kind of
really
what I
out
was, starting to think more about that. I thought I am projecting even the shapes and that these senses are, I'm projecting. They're not really even there. I guess, if we were to have that, what is it, the reality?
Emptiness directly.
Yeah,
Emptiness
the direct
perception.
direct
Perception of emptiness.
direct perception reality, we wouldn't see the raw data, the shapes and the colors. That's why I kind of went, okay, well, yeah, these are senses, but not.
See, the danger with that, with thinking that way, that things aren't out there, is that we think that nothing matters, right? And that's a dangerous way to think, because things do matter and things might not be real, but they function. You can prove that to yourself. Just stand on the middle of the road, you'll get hit, like it'll be real and it'll hurt. So that's where we need to just be careful. If we think, well, if nothing's out there, then what's the point, right? So it's really great if your mind can go there and start to doubt, like, okay, what the heck is going on around here? I mean, it's really, really healthy, really good to go there with your mind. But they say in order to see emptiness directly, you don't have to go that far. You can think that there is raw data out there, and you're projecting onto that. That is as far as you need to go to see emptiness directly. But yes, you can go further. You can, absolutely. But just make sure that, you know
lead you
that things
to that.
matter, and you need to care for people, and you know we need to practice love and compassion, and all that stuff really matters, so we can become enlightened. But it's a really good point. It's great that you're thinking that.
Yeah, because that's what I thought. One of the meditations in the book was about trying to see everything as really empty, and then reading that garden. I guess I'm on that chapter where I think that one of the monks was saying, you have to be careful.
Okay.
He was getting mad at that main character for maybe implying that you could see it, that it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's not so good.
Mm-hmm.
Because our actions do affect.
Yeah, it's your actions that create your reality, right? So therefore,
They're the seeds that are going to create it. So you do
Exactly.
still need to
yeah,
not do nothing and think.
exactly. Yeah, great, great. Thank you. Okay. So we were eliminating the argument of Wangpo, living physical matter. So your sense powers. If they were cause of your mind, then your mind would be made up from either one of them or a combination of all five. But it just doesn't make sense. If it would, then mind would have to come from one of the senses alone or all five, and then could the blind or deaf person then have a mind? It just doesn't make sense. Because if you would lack one of them or even all of them, then you couldn't have a mind, right? So do we agree on that?
Well, Helen Keller is a perfect example. Helen Keller. Oh, she's the girl who was born blind, deaf, and mute,
Okay.
and finished university
Well,
and wrote a book on. I don't know if anyone knows about Helen Keller. Yeah.
okay, great. So Nina just proved to us that even if you don't have the sense powers, you can still have a mind. Awesome. We can move on now. That's great. So we've eliminated Wangpo. So let's look what's left. Chisu. Say Chisu.
Chisu.
Outside matter. And we're actually be talking more about this next class. But what this refers to is the four elements. What are the four elements? Anybody know?
Fire,
Mm-hmm.
air, water, fire, air, water, and earth. Thank you.
Yes. So the way I understand it is that we are all made up out of these four elements. And in fact, everything is made up out of these four elements. Any combination, like a table would have more earth element than wind, but it will have a combination of all four in it. And some people have more fire element, or some people have more air. They appear very ungrounded. Kind of makes sense, right? We all have the four elements. And just to say that it's not supposed to be taken literally, it's not like we actually have fire somewhere in my body, or it is a metaphor. Right? So they basically describe the types of energy which are acceptable to science. Right? And I've heard of certain practitioners, like Jesus. He mastered the water element, and then he could walk on water, right? So when you become, really accomplished, you can work with these elements and create, more one of the other in order to accomplish your goals.
I was just thinking about Tumo.
Yeah, Tumo is generating fire, right? And
it's a Tibetan practice of, I don't know, what was it?
it's doing the belly. How do we call it in?
No, it's basically a practice of internal practice done in meditation and the pranayama and all of that and certain movements of the body. You can see it on YouTube that creates an inner fire. Like, and they used it when they were like freezing cold in the mountains and they needed to keep warm. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? T-U-M-O?
T-U-M-O, I think.
Yeah, so that can be useful. Okay, so can these 4 elements be the cause of our mind? Would you need all 4 elements together, or would one be enough in order to create mind? Are we saying that one element can turn into mind and the other ones are just helping? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You need all 4. You need all 4 to turn it into mind? Is that what you're saying?
If this is the last option that we're talking about,
It's the last option we're eliminating.
we're eliminating it.
Eliminating it. Because why? Why couldn't it be? Why couldn't the 4 elements be mind?
There isn't a body.
It's physical, right? Didn't we say at the beginning that the quality needs to be the same in the cause and the result? Like, how can something physical be a cause for something non-physical? It doesn't make sense. I mean, is it a secondary factor? Absolutely. The 4 elements, secondary factor. They're supporting, but they're not the material cause of the mind. Chemicals, atoms, they're supporting our being, but they're not the cause. It cannot be like a material, it cannot have a physical thing that flops into mind. Physical flops over into something physical. And they say if chemical elements like fire, earth, water, and wind were the cause of mind and birth, then a new mind would be produced every time these 4 elements would come together. A new mind would be produced whenever a particular chemical element was present. And
So can we say they assist?
can we say the elements exist?
Assist.
Assist, yes, you can say that. You can say that. But you cannot say they're the main cause. Just like rain and sunshine are not the main cause for a lemon tree to grow in your bathtub. But they definitely help. Yeah.
Where does it eliminate that mind is not physical? Like, what if you said that mind was the neurons in your brain firing?
Mind, we say mind is not the brain because the brain is is a thing, right? The mind is clear and aware, and the mind can go. I can go in my mind to Dallas, Texas, right now. Like there, you can't locate the mind. The brain we can locate. So we say the mind is not physical.
But you're saying it's caused by he's saying it's caused by the actions of the neurons firing. So that thought is caused by thought in Dallas.
So like if you say you're in Dallas because of your mind projection,
Yeah.
but that could just be the neuron in your brain pulling up an image or a concept, but it's still physical in the brain.
How can a physical thing turn into something non-physical? Like,
I understand that the physical can't turn into non-physical, can't be the cause, but through what we've gone through so far, we're assuming that mind is non-physical.
mm-hmm.
How did they get to that point?
How did we get to the point that mind is not physical? Okay.
He says it wasn't sensory because the eye doesn't interpret, the mind interprets. The eye just senses, picks something up. But even when they've done operations on the brain, they've stimulated various parts of the brain and they've brought up memories in the subject as they've been on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And when they take out certain parts of the brain, certain functions are lost as well. So there's that little bit of gap between sensory and then the actual images that we see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where the Tibetans are going with this?
Well, let's finish it and see if it makes sense in the end. I mean, you're asking why isn't the mind physical? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's asking. Yeah, where was the assumption that, or maybe I can't recall either, where it was written down somewhere that the mind is not physical.
Yeah, we decided it's not physical.
Which class?
It would die. If it was physical, then it would die with the person.
And
Right?
I think what it boils down to is that what's the definition of the brain
Yeah.
as we know it, as we've been taught what the brain is, especially in the sciences and the medical field, and the brain firing off neurons and memory and storage and different parts of the brain functioning, like the occipital nerve going to the occiput and all of that. But then is the mind different from that? And that's where the Tibetans.
But it is,
and
and
that's
I'm
the different.
happy you're saying it because I don't know any of the words that you're describing. Like that just sounds like I don't know how the brain works. I don't know this stuff.
But
I've
that's
never.
the physical medical
But
model.
what they
right?
say that the mind is clear and aware. When the brain dies, the mind doesn't die. We have proof that. I mean, is it proof if someone has an experience like that? I don't know, but you have people that are dead in the hospital. The brain is dead.
Yeah.
They have it on the computers, and then somehow they come back, and their mind gone to all sorts of places, right? So then we see that it's not the same, right?
And there's actually some really hard evidence that's coming through now about people having, dying on the table, the brain being dead, and then the mind perceiving conversations that are going on down the corridor with this doctor and that doctor.
Right.
Then when they come back into the physical body, they're able to recite the exact words and conversation. So I mean, it's like, is the mind the brain? I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think it's because I missed some other classes, so I
Oh,
didn't.
No, it's a valid question. It's great,
I got stuck on because you said that Chisuk, because they're all physical properties,
Mm-hmm.
then it already disproves it. But I missed that part where it's like, well, where did it
Mm-hmm.
If it like that's been covered, then I think if we keep going,
No, it's good. It's good to question. It's good to think about it. You know, it's good for me too. This is not easy for me either.
Yeah. I mean, I think we may all kind of agree, but to kind of like you said, supposedly this is logic, and we're supposed to be able to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good quiz question.
Yeah, no, it's
Where
great.
was the assumption? And I can't remember where.
Well,
it just
because
it
we
dies
say,
with
you
the
know,
physical body. It would die with the physical body, and it doesn't, right? The mind doesn't die with the physical
well, that's
body.
what we're trying to prove.
We're trying to prove that we don't
Oh, okay.
Could this
have a
be
valid perception, direct perception.
Similar to the acorn turning into the, or the.
Well,
I
absolutely,
mean,
yeah.
you just don't know when the switch happens, or you don't know that it actually happens. It just does. Like it's not something for us to actually.
Well, we're going there right now, but the fact that the mind is not physical, we prove by saying the cause and result need to be made out of the same stuff. They need to be similar, right? There need to be, you know, the acorn possesses some kind of oak tree-ness in it in order for it to flop. So therefore we say mind cannot be physical because the cause isn't physical, right? That's what we're proving here, that physical cannot be a cause for mind.
If you believe that the mind is not physical, then
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people that come, a lot of people believe that the mind is physical because they think it's the brain.
Yeah,
That's
they
what
think
we're
it's
Yeah.
the
doing.
brain. Yep.
Yeah.
So then coming into this new concepts are quite.
Yeah, that's where the confusion comes.
Mhm.
Yeah. But here we say no, the mind is not the brain. It's not.
So then, what does the brain? What's the function of the brain then?
The mind is not the brain.
The mind is not the brain.
What is the function of the brain?
I mean, the brain functions, of course, for us in all the ways we need it because it's empty. You know, what Hogan was saying earlier, you know. There's definitely a function. Things function. Our brain functions for us. I cannot tell you all the ins and outs of how a brain works because I don't know. I don't know how a brain works.
Nobody
But I
knows.
know.
For
No,
sure.
that's it.
Yeah.
Amanda
You know
knows.
for
Yeah.
sure. I know because my brain has been knocked
Right.
out so much.
But
physically.
you know, whatever you know, you can find in an anatomy book, it can fully function that way. How the I don't even want to say neurons. I don't know what it means. So
and it
it
also
doesn't.
operates the body, right? We're in this human body, and it's necessary for the. Like you were talking, it goes back to what you were saying. Different parts of the brain operate different parts of the body, but which is what they think. But if one part of the brain is knocked out, then it's amazing how there will be like some other growth on a different part of the brain that will be simulating the bit that was
Right.
knocked out.
If you have the karma for that
If
to
you
happen,
have the
right?
karma for that to happen.
If
Yeah.
you don't have the karma for that to happen, then you might go limp on one side of your body
Yeah.
or whatever happens, right? Yeah. So I mean, it always comes down to that karma and emptiness. Everything, how you see. You know, my karma is, I know nothing about the brain. So for me, I don't know how it functions. Amanda knows very well how it functions. Her karma is different, so she has a lot of knowledge about it and she can tell you how it works. But it works in a way how everything works, and that's just if you have the karma for it to work. If you have a certain karma, then, you know, your brain will only function a certain way, right? Anyways. So let's see here. We were eliminating the last part, which was the chemical elements: fire, earth, water, and wind. So to a Buddhist philosopher, it would be a joke to think that all the chemicals in your body could turn into a crystal clear mind. Because it's not the same stuff, right? Cause and result. It cannot. Mind is different. It's not affected by matter. Yeah, and I said that. Mind is invisible, ineffable. The stuff of mind is different than matter. So, okay, this is interesting because we're gonna go next class into this. Dharmakirti is going to argue that not only does the mind not rely on the brain, he says actually the brain relies on the mind. So we're gonna get there. Good. This is good. Okay, let's take just a couple minutes break, and then we'll finish it off.
You do the reading and then you read the notes usually?
Yeah.
Read the readings and then you read the notes, which is supposed to help.
The reading, yeah. And then you can listen to the audio. There's Mariska's audio. Or you can go to the ACI website and they have their own audios too.
Audios of the notes.
Yeah, based on these notes will reflect more closely. Well, no, I should say more closely because Mariska does a really good job of following it very closely as well.
Yeah, she's following the notes. I kind of find.
Yeah, she's following the notes.
So that's what
The reading
is
is
on
more.
the video recording is usually the notes.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand the notes, then you can watch it
Listen.
to see if there's some more examples.
Yeah. Like, I guess the reason you have the notes is because it makes the reading more simplified. Because the reading is like a bit esoteric, sort of poetic. Yeah, this makes it far more clear. What I find with the quizzes is they take some questions out of the homework and put them in the quizzes, and then the same with the final exam. They'll take some of the questions out of the quizzes and put them in the final exam. Yeah.
Probably the important ones.
Yeah. So it's a good idea to study the homework before you write a quiz. Or, I don't know how Mariska feels about this, you could look at what the quiz questions are, study the answers without looking. First, you study the answers, you know what the answers are, and then do the quiz. That's what I would do. I think I've only done one quiz ever.
Okay. You just kind of did the homework.
I just been doing the homework, yeah. Yeah, the homework helps the quizzes. The one quiz that I did do.
Is this your first course?
Pardon me?
But you've done one full course already?
I've done 3 fully.
Would you pass the final exam?
I haven't done anything fully. I've just done homework for all the quizzes.
Okay, so you didn't do the final?
No, I'm chicken. I'm chicken to do the quizzes on that.
I was going to ask you about that.
I'm a big chicken.
But you are doing the homeworks that you do are amazing.
I
The way
know.
you are so thorough in your answers, and it really sounds like you really understand it.
Yeah.
You're a
But it
school
doesn't
teacher,
stick.
right? You
Yeah.
can really read like wow.
Yeah.
I read it, I'm like, I wish I could write like that. It's really impressive. It sounds like you understand it very well.
It sounds like it, but then I can't get it to stick in my brain long enough to write the quizzes. I think I talked to you about that. Yeah.
Oh, so you don't do the
I'll tell you
I don't
how
do
I
quizzes.
study it is I first actually when I study the quiz, yeah, every day I do a little bit.
Yeah.
I go through the homework questions every day
Yeah.
and I repeat them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then after a week I have them.
Yeah.
And then I take my quiz.
Okay.
And then when it's time for final, I take all my quizzes out of my binder and just go through a couple classes at a time and study those. And again, for like a week or two, I do every day, just 10 minutes. And then it's, for me, it sticks.
Yeah, it's like little and often, isn't it?
Yeah,
Little and
yeah, and then you can just add more. Yeah.
You take 10 minutes every day and you go through like 6 questions. So if there's 6 whole questions, you go through all 6. So I thought about studying a question a day and then doing it a week later.
Yeah,
It's better to do 6 at a time.
yeah, it depends. Some courses have more questions than others, but yeah, I kind of see. But yeah, every day just a little bit, and then every day repeating it, and then it'll stay.
I'll do a quiz for next week. Ah,
Hey,
I
very
have to do
good.
it now.
Very good. Okay, so we are basically done. I mean, really, what this class is about is trying to say cause and result need to be similar. So the cause for the mind cannot be physical because the mind is not physical. And so if we eliminated physical things, so then we're left with mind. So they say mind is the only option left. Mind has to cause mind. And it makes sense to me that the moment of mind that I'm having right now was flopped over from the moment of mind that I had a moment before. You know, the moment of mind that I'm having right now will flop into the moment of mind next moment. Right? That makes sense?
So our lives are like this.
Like a big spaghetti noodle.
And if it's broken somewhere, it's kind of like still continues or just.
It won't break. It keeps going. See? The thing is that, and Turnjeet said this last week, so that means there's no beginning and there's no end to mind. And that's exactly it. There is no beginning. You cannot find a beginning of mind. You cannot find an end. It's just tricky, you know.
It's like a
Your mind
spaghetti
wants to
noodle.
find a beginning.
Well, it's like in the shape of an O. The spaghetti noodle in the shape of an O.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Which is the wheel of samsara, right?
So where did it evolve from?
So what pushed this consciousness in the first moment of this life at conception? And you know, you don't need to accept any of this. You don't have to accept any of the course. But it is meant to make you think, right? Rethink like what we grew up with, all the ideas, what society believes. You know, when I grew up in Holland, my language is Dutch. You know, that's how I grew up. I don't question it. You know, the religion I grew up with, automatically I go to church because my parents are taking me to church. Like you're just, I'd say, forced into all these things without actually thinking about it, right? So this course is just meant for you to start to think a little bit about really all the things that are happening. Could it really be that way just because I grew up with it? You know, does that make it true because I grew up with it? Does that make it true? Not necessarily. Could be. But, you know, Geshe Michael Roach says, even all the Tibetans, the Buddhists in Tibet, they're in the same boat. They've all grew up with it. They're not necessarily thinking about it. Why, you know, It's normal to them, just like, you know, my language is normal to me. Going to church was normal for me as a kid, just because, you know, because of the society, because of my parents, doesn't mean it's true. So this is just to help you think a little bit and, you know, cook it, meditate on it, and think of that, if it can be true, if, yeah. I mean, okay, so if we say mind is the cause of mind, then we can choose to, was it our own mind or was it someone else's mind? Which mind flopped over into this mind of me, this life, you know? Was that my mind from before, or was it the mind of my parents? Well, if it was the mind of someone's parent, then you'd have to be the same as the parent, right? And that's not true. Some parents are super smart and you know, a certain way, and the kid is the opposite. Some parents are idiots and the kids are super bright and amazing, you know? So it doesn't make sense, it doesn't hold. It can't be someone else's mind that flopped over into ours. It cannot be the main cause. It can't. Can it be a secondary factor? I'd say so. Probably. Because you need your parents, right? For the conception of you. So they had something to do with it. But this, so then we eliminate that. It can be the mind of your parents flopping over into your mind. So then what's left, you know? What's left is that your mind came from your mind in the past. And once you prove the existence of a single moment of your mind preceding the first moment of mind in your mother's womb, then that implies that your mind is beginningless and endless. And that's how they prove past lives.
Can you just say that again, that sentence? Sorry.
Okay. Once you prove the existence of a single moment of mind preceding the first moment of mind in your mother's womb, then that means that mind is beginningless and endless.
And we're proving that by saying that it has to have been mind has to have been caused by mind.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah. Because we said it could not be physical matter because physical is not the same as mind, so it has to be mind. It cannot be the mind of our parents. It has to be our own mind. So then where does it start? Go find it. You know? Your mind flops over into the next moment of mind. That moment flops over into the next moment of mind. And it keeps going. And it keeps going back too.
So when someone becomes enlightened, what's their mind then? Is their mind light now?
Is their mind light?
Yeah.
Their mind, like, you could say, like, maybe you have a big mind and a small mind, and the small mind would be like, me, you know, concerned about me, and that person said this to me, and blah, 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 you know, all this stuff, right? That mind kind of disappears into the big mind when you become enlightened, like it no longer exists, right? The small mind. So then there's mind.
Okay.
And the big mind is without
It,
ego.
I mean, the big mind is
Could I meet Amanda in the big mind someday?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the big mind, we've spoken about omniscience, right? That's the big mind. You're outside of time, you're outside of space, you know all things,
So
all
that's
time.
big mind, omniscience.
And you have
Okay.
no self-interest anymore, right? Because you've worked through all that, and you're done with that. So now you've become mind, you know?
Are there many minds in the big mind? Or is it just one big mind?
Are there many minds?
Are you talking about consciousness?
I'm just talking like, is there going to be a separate Tranjeet, Amanda, Hogan, Juan, and Nina up there in the big mind? Little minds making a big mind? Or is it just a big mind? Without any distinctions?
No, I think there's distinctions.
There's distinctions. So we
Yeah.
can have a congregation up there.
You have a
Okay.
party.
As
Okay.
long as there's gluten-free chocolate cake.
So it's,
No, you won't be worried about that
No.
anymore.
so it's kind of similar to Christian concept of heaven then.
I think so.
Similar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think so. Yeah, because you need to have things are not one thing, right? Because you need to have subject object, right?
So there's no conditions for mind.
No conditions for mind.
So, all things are created because of the conditions that create them. Like there's no beginning, right? But then there's conditions that create them. Or is that not true?
Conditions that create the mind.
Because, for instance, like when Buddha achieves enlightenment, he says that he's not going to be reborn anymore. So I assume that means that the conditions for mind to be created again are no longer there.
It becomes different, at that point. Because you'll be outside of karma, you'll be outside of time and space. So can't compare it to how the mind seems to be right now, right? It's just a whole different ball of wax. You'll have a mind forever.
In the Lam Rim, they talk about the Buddha. I mean, the Buddha said he wasn't going to be reborn again, but isn't there a choice? Like to
You can do
emanate,
whatever you
'cause
want.
You can do whatever you want because you're outside of time and space at that time. And then in the Lam Rim, it talks about very much about how the Buddha emanates, like sends out emanations of himself, and can come in any form to any person, anytime, when needed. So
And they do.
yeah.
But is that really a rebirth then? Or it doesn't have to be? It could be.
It could be a physical person.
But it won't be under the same laws of rebirth that we're
Exactly.
experiencing.
Because right now rebirth is for people in samsara. You are reborn in samsara because of ignorance. That's our driving force, right? So when you don't have that anymore, it just becomes completely different.
Yeah,
It's hard to imagine.
We say we don't know who is a Buddha and who isn't. Like we don't know who people are. We have no idea. They could present to us as like somebody being really horrible to us or hurting us, or they could be beautiful to us. But so they can come down into that, appear as a human being, but it's
Absolutely.
not necessarily a samsaric rebirth.
Well, I think I was coming from like all things are arising and passing away, and so I take it the mind is the arising when the conditions are right for the mind to arise, and then it passes away, and I assume that passing away is when you reach enlightenment, but I don't know if that's the
Could
right
be.
assumption.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then there must be conditions for the arising of the mind. And he was asking like, so what are the conditions? Or are there no conditions? And it's just the mind that is just the mind.
But are you asking this for as in Buddhahood or as in like here, like in samsara?
Well, no, because we were saying that the mind is preceded by the mind,
Mhm.
is preceded by the mind.
more so it's also saying there is no beginning, right, for the mind.
There's no beginning.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, so that it doesn't.
spiritual horizon is the very first
In the first place.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying? Okay, but there was no first place.
yeah, there was no first place.
We can never find it because we can always find, there's always the moment before. So you can go back. It's like a hall of mirrors, right? It just goes forever and there's no beginning.
Just like the universe. Like I was talking about this yesterday with someone about stars and planets and different universes and galaxies and all of that. And like, where does it stop? They haven't been able to find it. It's just endless.
Yeah, so mind causes mind, there's no beginning. So there's no condition that helped it start because there was no start. It's hard, huh? It's tricky.
I was reading this book by a Buddhist monk, and then he was listing some of the questions that Buddha listed that they're not beneficial to you to developing. I think this may have been one of those questions.
Yeah. But like I said, we don't need to accept this, but it is good to start thinking about it, that just that things might be different than you thought they were, or at least entertain the thought, that it might be so. I mean, you don't have to accept it at all. But it's meant to make you think, and it's also meant to, if mind causes mind, then that means that we can manipulate our mind into our future mind, right? So if we don't like what we see right now in our world, which is created by our mind, then that's good news that mind flops over into mind, because then we can start to put different causes into place to see our world different, right? And eventually to become a helper, compassionate, all-loving being who's no longer concerned about himself, who's always in bliss. That's kind of, the idea. It's the good news that Buddha wasn't always a Buddha. He had to go through, lifetimes worth of crap before he could see himself as an enlightened being, and it just shows us that because mind creates mind, that's possible for us also.
So is it similar to thinking almost like if who we think we are in our mind is that, then we can change that thinking like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's not always easy in the moment. And that's when we need to bring karma and emptiness to that moment in order to transform it into, so we can eliminate the karma for us to think that way. And then we transform it into a different future, right? A future that's not based on our ignorance, our grasping.
I'm going to share that I enjoyed this, but I'm really struggling with, I'm leaving here struggling, maybe that's my karma, the fact that I believe that everything comes from something.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to believe that
Yeah, it
that
is hard.
the most powerful thing that we attain, which is our mind, which is connected with our thoughts, and we're conscious of it, is such an unconscious, unknown factor of where it actually stemmed from, or the root of it, or if there is a root of it, or if there's anything connected to that. I'm struggling with.
Well, the idea is that you struggle with it. I mean, if you come in here and just, yes, great. Whatever you say, Mariska, fantastic. It's different. than if you go home and you struggle with it. That's where the growth is. That's where the learning is, right? The idea is that you know, we all struggle in different aspects. That's fine, but it's good. It's good to think about it and think about that. Why does there need to be a beginning? Why are we want to have a beginning? Why? Why do we need to have a beginning? What difference does it make? You know? Why do we want to find it? And then go and try to find it, you know? Try to find it. Go back, you know? If it's true that mind causes mind and the moment before your conception must have been a moment of mind before that, you know, go back and see if you can find the beginning. You know? It's great material for meditation. It's great material for contemplation, and that's why this class is here, to make you confused, actually.
I mean, we evolved from apes, right? And well, if you look at our generational heritage, well, our generation, right? We were one time apes, but those somehow made it to the planet, just like dinosaurs did, which are non-existent anymore. Sorry, just
Yeah, you think about it, Nina. You think about it.
There is different schools of thought, though. There's different like theories. There's the Adam and Eve theory,
Right.
and there's so many different religions and ways of thinking about how we arrived here.
There's so many different ways.
And the thing is, human beings find it really difficult to conceptualize the idea that they want a start and a finish. We want to put things in boxes. I struggle with this all the time. I want to know. I want the safety of the sides of the box.
Mhm.
I can't just be left with this kind of open abyss where I'm like, tell me what it is. I need to know. I need to put it into a brain concept, and it's that real brain thinking where there's structure, and it's what we're brought up with.
No, and it's totally true. And that is also, you know, the job of the Lama. You know, whenever I find myself in a place where I'm thinking, yeah, you know, I get it. You know, I'm good. Then he'll find a way to pull that rug under my feet again, and there I go, falling again into forever, you know, and it's very uncomfortable, I guess, because you want that place. This is how it really is, you know, and then that's gonna be pulled again, and that's the idea, you know. Why do we grasp to, you know, it has to be just right, you know? Yeah. Anyways, this is all meant to make you confused.
like we need more, but thank you.
It's meant to make you think. Yeah. So let's close class. Judging me to Thank you. I know.
I don't think